know the game. Wait, okay, fine. Here you go. Alright, you happy?
To be honest, this matchup introducing two new series at once gives a bit of a Season 9 vibe, rather than the classic request team Season 10 seems to be going for. But I still think it carries all the strength this season displayed so far, with a couple of discussion-worthy points. I didn't expect the usage of very recent meme clips straight away. I wonder when did they think of it. I think both breakdowns do a great job at mashing together versus stuff like power, stats and fits with character-centered info like personality, story and development in a really seamless fashion. The humor unfortunately isn't as overall strong as the latest two entries, in my opinion is a bit of an hit and miss. When it's subtle and low-key, it works just fine and hits all the right notes, with expressiveness taking a priority over practical humor. But sometimes it's a bit drawn out and it kinda loses me. The thing for this episode is Wheat's fanboying over the amount of math involving both combatants' power sets, with Boomsting having none of it, which is funny given his attempts at out-scientist scores in the premiere, showing that he is not built for this field. Speaking of not being ready, they acknowledge Genshin Impact.
Oh, it's an RPG class system?
And speaking of good old Killua himself, I really like how they went over his journey as a character, his crafty nature, his history of family abuse, love for his homie, love for his sister, and now the latter two ultimate triumph by the end, showing that even when far away, Killua will always have its loved ones in mind. Speaking of mind, BetterHelp is a sponsor for this episode, and while I normally find it funny to point out the contrast between highlighting mental health versus putting characters in a situation where only one of them will see the light of the next day, between the first episode and this one I found out that this is not a good sponsor as it may seem. While seeking mental health advice is always good, apparently these are not all experts and all the best qualified for whatever you might struggle with. So I'm not sure how much the DB crews are worth this, but I hope they get better informed next time. Just think of this as an heads up. I hope you all have someone to talk to. Now, the Misaka's breakdown opens straight away with a nice contrast between hers and Killua's upbringing, namely in the sense that while the former was raised to do one thing right, killing, the former was raised to academically learn and improve over her powers, and by god does she have many. They talk about storms, tornadoes, freaking AMP kaijus, body decoys, which becomes very important later, and we also get a shout out at Chainsaw Man, so you know, that Bablo if you're listening to this. Also, this scene right here,
Oh, I hate you, but I secretly love you and it'll work out in the end. Shut up! But
you know, honestly kill me. While I am no fan of Sundir's either Boomstick, I did think that the bond between the protag and Misaka seems rather endearing, and the whole clone thing rather tragic. We technically get a shout out at Accelerator vs Magneto, another popular matchup for Eric, and much like Killua we end on a positive note about the one person in Misaka's life that made a difference, throughout all the pain and whatnot. Again, very sweet. After what I can only describe as the best dead battle segue ever, we get a view at some beautiful 3D backgrounds, a nice hint of Killua's character theme Tell Me in the battle's track, a 2D reaction shot, and a great look at Killua's pixel model, which was custom made from scratch instead of being from an existing game like Misaka's is, making what they do with it even more impressive. Now, the fight setup. Apparently it is accurate for Misaka to feel emotionally attached for the frog badge and for Killua to be a smug troll about not giving it back, but I've also seen people say that going full railgun about it is a tad extreme. Now, unfortunately I can't comment on that, but I can comment on Misaka's lighting being yellow instead of blue to contrast it better from Killua, even though they're canonically both blue. Very interesting artistic liberty they took. If the first episode had me comparing two scientists playing the moves like anime characters playing chess, in this one they are anime characters playing a strategic game of chess. Something I really like to see highlighted with both combatants try to outthink each other, instantly realizing each other's strength and adapting accordingly. Also, the killing blow, more than later, is an actual instance of one outsmarting the other, rather than one just outdoing the other.
What?
So I say this fight actually did better, funnily enough. After a nice section of them using the transmutation method to go over a beautifully modeled background, and some less than beautiful effects at the end of that, both the battle and the track reach a crescendo as Killua goes all out on Godspeed mode, and Misaka unleashes Kevin 11,000, a 6 million tons kaiju. We get an amazing shot after Killua jumps over freaking lightning. Lots of lightning stuff this season. We see his naked aura as he proceeds to break Misaka's heart right before Misaka does the same to Killua fans. Okay, so this death really works for me, for the following reasons. While it is Killua falling into a trap despite being listed as an assassin for birth, that upbringing is precisely why it works. He's a close combatant type. He aims to get direct for the kill as possible, and he does get an absolute highlight moment after jumping over freaking lightning and demolishing a fucking kaiju, before being tricked into eating what's actually a decoy, whose art covers his entire body as a real deal, calculates the trajectory and shoots a shot. We've had great fake outs before, but this one hits because it feels like a perfectly executed plan from a character to capitalize on the weakness of the other. Not because Killua is stupid, but because Misaka is just better. Also, pretty nice of Misaka regaining agency by using a clone of her for her advantage, after how she was tricked by that traumatizing cloning program. Personally, I would have preferred a shot straight to the heart, keeping in line with that being a recurring theme for Killua in this episode, and I think it would have been more unique than a splatter bomb, but that's okay. But it's fine. The ending with Misaka collapsing with joy as her opponent's blood rains all over her is pretty freaking metal, I admit. Speaking of metal, let's get into the themes. This episode's musical track, which I'm gonna call Change X, is named after our Hunter x Hunter episodes I usually title, and where it references both combatants' change of art, also little change like Misaka's coin, throughout their lives. It's pretty darn good, a nice rock and roll with lots of energy and expected amount of electronic sounding stuff. The track though, best one in the season so far. Look at that shit. The narrative in this episode can best be described as specialization versus versatility. Killua was great at punching, kicking, and well, killing, but his lighting arsenal was much less varied compared to Misaka's, and she uses this variety to her advantage by dominating in the longer range, weapons, superior speed, and tactical and adaptive mind during the fight, figuring out that she needs to have Killua get close to have a chance. She tricks him into being a straight for a precision shot. She does technically beat him in the power department as well, but it's not just power, it's that she knows how to use it to her advantage, and in the end, the answer became free. Overall, I'd say this episode was the second best of this season. It does triumph over Ant-Man vs. the Atom in a lot of aspects, including the ones I had praised in that episode, but it's not as epic as Skyrim vs. Dark Souls, and I think we're gonna have to wait a while to get to that level again. I mean, if we don't wait, I love being wrong in that case. Next time is shaping up to be a very interesting fight, and a long time coming too, especially by a certain member of the DB community.
Next. Oh my god! Oh my god! Are you kidding me? No! That's Stitch and Rocket! They're doing Stitch versus Rocket Raccoon! Stitch versus... Guys, this is my most wanted fight ever!
Raptor, I doubt you'll see this, as much as you doubt that battle saw your reaction, but I did, as I just want to say that your reaction to the reveal was very heartwarming to watch. You're an inspiration to me as a Dead Battle fan and now as a content creator, so really want to thank you for everything. I'm looking forward to your reaction to Stitch vs. Rocket as much as the episode itself. I'm Mark of Krypton, and I hope I made your day slightly better.